Welcome to the X Block.
Am I right, Marine?
Sir, yes, sir!
Then listen up.
You're listening to the X Block. I'm Jared, he's Caleb. Let's get into it.
You are listening to the X Block Podcast, episode 33 again. I'm
Whoa.
Jaren. I'm here with Caleb.
Heyo.
And this is the world's number one Xbox podcast.
Probably, but not last week, Jaren. What happened there?
Even when we don't record, we're the best podcast, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of true. Yeah, so last week, we recorded what was perhaps the greatest episode ever of all time of any podcast that you'll never hear. Because Jaren's audio, messed up. We were having issues before we started recording, but like it's not the software. It's literally something to do with like your computer on your computer's end, right? Because we tried it in multiple software.
I think it was like a back end, maybe like update to sound settings or that kind of stuff. Because we went through those and kind of like looked at them and changed some of them. I learned a lot from my friend Levin, who was on the podcast before. I got things I'm testing. I'm recording a separate recording from this one that Caleb has recording too, in case that sounds better. We got moves. We're making money moves.
Making moves in silence, Jaren, except publicly and out loud. But yeah, so Jaren's audio may sound wonky this week. Maybe not at all. But if it does, now you know why.
And then the other piece of housekeeping was that we're taking out the X Factor discussion, mostly because the podcast has been progressing towards a discussion-based thing anyway. And the only way the X Factor discussion will be in episodes going forward is if you guys leave comments on the YouTube video or you ask us questions at XBlock Podcast on Twitter, and then you can ask us something, and maybe we'll bring it back to answer your questions on a light news day.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, kind of to go off and clarify what Jaren was talking about, because we mentioned this last week in our episode, but then that one didn't air, so got to talk about it again. As we streamline the show more and cut down on the news topics, so where we're not just reading kind of lists of news for you and kind of just being like a newsletter, we actually talk about and have discussions about each topic more in depth and actually provide some sort of substantive, relevant dialogue there. The X Factor just makes the show even longer, and it's kind of even become its own just news section some weeks rather than like a debate. And, we decided that, it's like we might as well just cut that so that we can talk longer or just, have these discussions about the news without the podcast being like way too long. And then if, there are comments, anybody leaves comments on Twitter, or ask a question there, and we think, that it's good, then we'll bring it back. Not probably, we will. Like, it's not gone. The X Factor discussion's not gone. It just depends on whether you, the audience, want it included or not, and whether you want us to talk about anything. And then it'll be back in. So it's more just on like an interim basis. You open the podcast every week, and you're like, is there going to be an X Factor discussion? Maybe there is, maybe there not. Who knows? But if you go to Twitter at XBlock Podcast, you can make it happen if you're totally distraught by asking, a meaningful question. And we'll be like, yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to talk about whatever is asked, dude. Ask away. I'll answer it.
Yeah. So Jaren, can I tell you what I've been playing this week? Because I have an exciting announcement.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So The Elder Scrolls Online, Jaren, I'm done with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You thought it was going to be a way bigger deal. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you were playing more of it.
Yeah, you were about to think I was gonna say that I was testing Halo Infinite or something. Nah, dude. But I finished the Daggerfall Covenant at the Elder Scrolls Online, which I was on the cusp of last week. But then, that episode didn't go live, and since then I finished the freaking Daggerfall Covenant, which is one of the 3, starting campaigns in that game. But it takes like 100 hours, and I'm done, and I'm so excited. And so then I guess besides that, this week, Jaren, I fished in Sea of Thieves. Let me tell you something, Jaren. We caught 4 muddy wild splash last Wednesday, dude. It's fucking crazy. So we're done with the fish in the wilds. This is gonna be nothing to anybody but me or Walter. But and so we finished those.
What about Eric?
I don't know if Eric listens to the show. I know Walter does. And then, dude, we went into the Ancients and got our last bone. So now we're done with the Ancient scale. Like, shit's popping, Jaren. So, next week we're going for the Wreckers. And the audience is like, wow, Caleb, that's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So, and then besides that, I've been playing Splitgate, just grinding one achievement in that game to like get a certain amount of damage. So just grinding that podcast game, easy podcast game. Other than that, Dark Pictures Anthology, House of Ashes. I don't know if we talked about we had been playing that last week, and then the episode didn't air. But Jaron and I played and beat that co-op. Really great game, and really great story, especially the third act. I think it's the best of the Dark Pictures games. I really like those games. But you got to replay the game quite a few times to, get all the achievements and things, or like go back to certain scenes. So I've been doing that to get some of the achievements. And then finally, the big one. Jaron and I have been playing Forza Horizon 5, and I'm at 210 out of 1,000 gamer score in that game. I don't know what Jaron's at, probably the same.
Like 180?
Yeah, I don't know what I got, but that game is super fun, man. Like, it's a really fun game. I was telling Jaron, I like the environments, I think, better in Forza Horizon 3, like Australia. I like that general kind of map and feel better. Although I'm sure if I went back and played it immediately side by side next to Forza Horizon 5, I might feel differently. But, in my mind and at the time, I enjoyed a lot about Forza Horizon 3, but I admit that Forza Horizon 5 is almost undoubtedly the better game, and it's getting like 10 out of 10 reviews across the board and things like that, and everyone loves it. And it had 4.5 million players at launch, by launch day.
It was an absolute huge game. I've been having a blast playing it with you, and we're pretty much doing like every race together, and we just go along, and we've been cycling through every single car. We just change. We have a different car every single race, and then we just keep going.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get stuck with a car that is the worst for like a dirt track, but because we're racing in co-op, if we come 5th and 6th, we still win.
I like how Jaron does it, man. He puts a different car on for every race. When we played Forza Horizon, I think 3 one time, he put us in the shittiest, lowest D car in the game, and we couldn't get up a hill. we kept trying to go toward the top, and we'd fall back down, and we couldn't finish the race. Sometimes that happens, man. Sometimes a race that should take you 1 minute takes you 5, But you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you got to go with what fate provides. I'm just going through alphabetically, and every time new cars pop up, and I'm like, all right, it's time to go.
Yeah, it's super fun. I like doing that, but yeah.
Yeah, and what I've been playing, the only thing outside of Forza Horizon 5 that I've been playing is I played a bit of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the remaster, yesterday. Yeah, that game has terrible lighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, apparently they've changed and updated a lot with this remaster, this definitive trilogy thing, right? I saw the side-by-sides, and I was like, I don't know, man. It looks like you put some polish and sheen on a piece of shit, and now it's shiny.
It has actual like contrast and brightness issues where like the first cutscene of the game, the sun is like shining in the background and everybody's face is entirely dark. Like you can't make out any features on their faces. No. Everything. You have to go in and like turn the brightness all the way up and turn the contrast all the way down, because I think of its like native HDR settings that it doesn't let you adjust are just dog shit. So hopefully they patch that soon. So because I just fixed it by dragging brightness all the way up and dragging contrast all the way down, and then it looks like a normal video game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's just very weird.
So are you enjoying San Andreas in those games? Because people are really excited that these got, remastered and things. I thought they were going to do a way heavier kind of remake job. I know the controls are modernized and the game feels much smoother. So I'm sure it's like a way better experience than like loading up your PS2 or whatever the hell. But it does not appeal to me. I'm like, yo, these games can eat my ass, frankly, from my perspective. But what about you? Are you like San Andreas? You're just like, it's okay, story's still great.
I haven't played too much yet, but I was expecting a little bit more on the controls end. Like it obviously feels better than I remember San Andreas feeling, but I played it a really long time ago. But it doesn't quite feel like GTA 5. That would take like, I imagine, a full remake. But yeah, it's fine, but it's not, so far I haven't played too much, but it's nothing that's like blown me away.
Yeah, I saw that on Switch. Apparently the trilogy sucks. I just saw this morning VGC gave the Nintendo Switch port of the definitive trilogy a 2 out of 5 stars. So, fucking shocker.
Yeah, one day I want to see VGC find a game so bad that they give it a 2, but increase their thing to 10 stars just for one game.
For one game? What game is that going to be? What do you think?
They just give it like a 0.5 star out of 10 instead of 5.
Yeah, I don't know what game that would be for. I'm trying to come up with something in my head, but I can't think of it. Maybe they'll do it for the Breath of the Wild sequel, That got some people mad.
Oh, God. All right, well, that's the end of our discussion about what we've been playing, Caleb. Why don't we hop into Outside the Box?
Hit me with it.
I'm thinking outside the box,
where we cover all the news you need to know outside the Xbox community. And the first story, the Game Awards are back, and they will have 40 to 50 games, apparently, Caleb. 40 to 50 games, and they will have double-digit new game announcements.
Don't try to skate what you wrote in our doc. You wrote, Jeff is back and his dick is bigger than ever! ! Why did you put that in there? You didn't know I would read that. Only you and I see that.
Oh, I had a feeling you would read it out on the show if I didn't read it.
Oh, Jaren's playing 4D chess. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, tell me about those games, Jaren.
You know, we don't know anything about them yet, but...
Yeah, but tell me about those games.
This is from Eddie McCuck over at GameSpot. And Jeff Keighley tweeted out just over a month away. And he's kind of just been talking about how many games are going to be at the show. And he said, one of his quotes was, I still feel like we've only kind of sort of touched the surface on what's possible on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Dude, that is like half-stepping and all this kind of thing to try to not insult people's work, but also to try to say that good things are to come.
Yeah, he's really trying to be like, yo, we haven't seen nothing yet, but great job so far, guys. Like, you really nailed it, but also, like, let's wait a couple of years and see, like, you know what I mean? Like... But apparently this interview is over the Epic Games website where he said that, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, he said 40 to 50 games will appear at the event in, quote, some way or another, end quote. So, yeah, just a bunch. I guess, is that a record number of games being shown at the Game Awards?
It might be. And he also made a specific point to say that this one won't be as focused on like, hey, look, we got people to appear. Like, look, this actor's here. Look, this actor's here. He said more that they realized from last year that everyone just cares about the games and like the actors are cool, but the games are what drives it. And then he also said the Game Awards will not be doing anything with NFTs. We're not doing any NFT stuff.
Yeah, which is, that's a good call. And I think he said that they're going to announce like 10 games, right? Something.
Yeah,
10
double digit announcements.
Double digit games. So maybe 15. Who knows? Yeah, a lot of announcements. Like, I guess, first announcements or whatever. And so he's doubling down on, what people like about this. He's like, yo, wait, I don't have to waste a lot of money, getting The Rock to show up or something. Yeah, or whoever. And it's like, yeah, dude, just like, put on an award show for games and like show the trailers and stuff to get people in. And he's like, oh. And I guess that took him 5 years to learn, maybe? Something like that?
I feel like The Rock shows up for free, man. He likes games.
Yeah, he's an Xbox fan. I just used The Rock as an example of just like ex-actor, but because I can't think of one off the top of my head who's shown up. I don't know if, what's-his-face from Death Stranding, Norman Reedus, showed up, just out of the kindness of his heart or if they paid him. I don't know. But that kind of stuff. And yeah, and then he says that they're looking into something, Jaren. You and I, we won't go over this a ton again. The unreleased, the lost episode, as you and I are dubbing it, from last week that never got released. By the way, if you follow us at XBlock Podcast on Twitter, you'll see we tweeted out when that it got delayed or that we weren't having an episode last week. So if you want to know when episodes aren't coming out for technical reasons or whatever, which 1 in 33, not bad, you can just follow us on Twitter and you'll get notified. So anyway, back to this. We talked a lot about the metaverse and the cloud last week and how Xbox is integrated. We talked about how Sega and Xbox now have a cloud partnership, and how that would kind of pan out in the future. And then other things about, I think it was Satya Nadella, head of Microsoft, discussing the metaverse. Yep. And so Jeff Keighley, I don't know, this word, did you know about the metaverse before like a week or two ago? When Facebook renamed their parent company's name to Meta, and when Satya Nadella mentioned it in a conference or whatever, and then now this is mentioning the metaverse and a few other things. Like, when did you know about it beforehand?
Dude, this is why people believe that dumb things like the Illuminati are all the biggest companies in the world just start all of a sudden talking about the metaverse and like it's been an entire thing this whole time.
Yeah, they talk about it like they've all known about it for 10 years. And Keighley in this article, which is from GameSpot, they say Keighley teased that the Game Awards might eventually evolve to further embrace the metaverse, whereby people can watch the show inside of games like Fortnite and Core. Keighley guessed that by 2026, more people will be watching a show like the Game Awards from inside a virtual world, as opposed to consuming it via traditional means through a standard video feed. Which, you guys in here, we talked about last week with AR and VR integration into things and stuff like that. But yeah, so I guess he's going to be working on that, you know, and then maybe in 10 years you'll be able, or less than that, maybe you'll be able to watch the Game Awards live on a PSVR 2 headset. So that'll be cool. That's about all I have for the Game Awards, Jaren. You anything else to add?
Not too much. I'm excited for a bunch of different stuff. I hope that we see some of Xbox's rumored things, because something that's not in the show, but something that's been mentioned, is that Fable's been worked on for 4 years. Which people thought it, I think, had not been in development for that long. So some guy put out on Twitter that he's been working on Fable for 4 years.
It's a long time, but I imagine they still have like a year or two. Even though it's been 4 years, I think they're just slow in development of it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh yeah, I just mean that now it might be possible that we see a little bit more, because there'll be some stuff for E3, there'll be some stuff saved for now. It sounds like Starfield's going to be saved for E3, which we kind of expected. That's how Bethesda rolls.
I guess last thing I'll say is I'm looking forward to this Game Awards, because last year, you'll remember, Jaren, I had my tonsils out, so it was just pain and misery watching the Game Awards. But Jaren and I always like to watch it, like I get pizza, and it's pretty cool and fun to just to have something like that to watch every year in December, like before Christmas. And we'll probably see more of Hellblade, I suspect, because I think that was shown off first at the Game Awards.
Yeah, I believe it was. I wouldn't be I wouldn't be excited. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of Hellblade.
Yeah.
All right. The next thing we're hopping over to is Unity is buying Peter Jackson's Weta Digital, the VFX studio behind Lord of the Rings and many, many other things since Lord of the Rings. The one thing I wanted to say about this is I feel like it's kind of being underreported, because obviously people are going to look at this and go, wow, they make the best cutscenes. Maybe games will get that now. No, that's not going to happen. The reason they're able to render those things is because they only have to render them for a movie and not with interactions from players. So that's not coming anytime soon. But you are adding movie assets that Weta creates will probably be added to the Unity game engine, which will give that to more people and like give access to a whole bunch of like film studios on top of developers. They should have access to higher quality assets and things that Weta uses while they're making movies. And hopefully that means that we get some like better background textures, or just, you know, smaller developers who get Unity should have access to cooler assets that they might not have before.
Yeah, like Jaren said, and this company is owned by Peter Jackson from The Lord of the Rings, and they say in this IGN article from Rebecca Valentine, she says the planned acquisition, which is expected to cost Unity $1.62 billion in a mix of cash and stock, will see Unity acquire its tech and assets, as well as 275 Weta engineers who will join the company. And the deal is expected to close in Q4 of this year. So yeah, like Jaren said, they're getting a lot of employees, I guess, over at Unity to, you know, work on that shit. But yeah, it's a lot of back-end stuff, and then they say that the VFX part of, like the actual movie VFX part of Weta over there is going to remain not part of Unity within that deal. So Peter Jackson's keeping that. And it's not what some people might think that it is. It's more along what Jaren said with just more assets and tools for creation within the engine, but not like you're gonna get literal film quality shit now, you know, in your games over using a Unity engine.
Yeah, because, well, first off, like, the main thing is it's just not possible.
It's what they're working toward over time. Yeah, they're working toward that, but that's not immediately going to spontaneously happen now.
And it also makes no sense for Unity to actually own a movie studio, because then you're just taking a bunch of people who wanted to, like, work on movies and all that kind of stuff and putting them on Unity. They're all just going to leave and go back to working on movies at a different company.
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's a smaller thing in the sense of like the grand scheme of stuff, but I feel like the repercussions will be felt for like many years to come, and we could get some cooler stuff out of this than we would have had before.
I agree, man. I like Peter Jackson. I'm a big, fan of his, and it's good for him that he sold all this and, got some money. But for Unity, you see more games run on Unreal, obviously. So it's good that Unity's trying to be like competitive a bit, making moves.
Yeah, making some moves, trying to keep up with Epic.
Yeah, the behemoth. Yeah, good. We wish you well.
All right, Caleb, let's hop into the X Block. New upcoming Xbox exclusives have been revealed. Project Midnight from Compulsion and Pentiment from Obsidian, because of course Obsidian's making a fucking fourth video game. Why not?
How, dude, I know people always talk about, and fairly talk about Insomniac over at Sony, but Obsidian, like, what the fuck, man? Where are all these games coming from?
And we've talked about Compulsion's like secret project before, and we've obviously talked about Obsidian Games, but who knew they had another one? But yeah, so we'll start with Compulsion's Project Midnight. This article's written by Jez Corden over at Windows Central. And I'm just going to read what he wrote because it's like he does a pretty good job of describing it.
But go over to Windows Central, click on his article, give him, that click.
Yeah. He says, recently, we received some details on Compulsion's first outing as part of Xbox Game Studios, currently codenamed Midnight. This upcoming title is supposedly a third-person action game set in a dark and fantastical world. Some of the game's early concept artwork can be seen above, so if you want to see that, go check over at the article. They represent the game's protagonist alongside warped harpy-like humanoids that appear to descend through various iterations of mutation. On the left, we can see what appears to be a harpy nest-style dwellings built atop a tree, and Midnight is described as a coming-of-age tale, drawing upon inspirations from America's Deep South. Shout out to Caleb.
What up?
The game features magic and large fantastical beasts with a strong Southern Gothic vibe. The game is a wholly single-player experience with what has been described to me as a strong story. So, like, we had heard, like, rumors about this game, kind of already.
I don't know. Did you and I talk about this last week? Like, the initial leaks and then
No, we talked about it 2 weeks ago, I think.
Okay, last week we talked about, like, Bard's Tale people making something and, like, something else, right? Avowed, I think, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we did talk about that kind of stuff. But this game actually, like, I think when we first talked about it, we were kind of like, all right, Compulsion, like, show us what you got, all this kind of thing. Well, this, like, just more in-depth stuff about what's the game's about and, like, this artwork and stuff does make me, like, more interested in the game.
Yeah, I agree. I'm more interested than I was before, and specifically, you might be surprised, Jaren. They say that Southern Gothic, art style that they're going with. I was like, and then, like, they're drawing upon inspirations from America's Deep South, and I'm like, well, I live in Louisiana. I'm in the Deep South. Okay. Interesting. We'll see if they actually, nail some of those themes well or not. Because isn't Compulsion, like, based in the UK, or am I wrong?
I'm actually not sure. The last game they made was
in Britain.
Was in Britain, but I don't know if the studio
maybe
is.
not. Yeah, that's okay. Well, maybe I'm just making that up. But anyways, I thought it was interesting. I find it even more interesting, if they were a UK studio. I don't know a shit ton about them, is why I'm ignorant in that realm. But that would be super interesting if, like, a UK studio was making a Deep South inspired kind of game. I'd be like, I want to see that interpretation from someone, outside the US. That's cool. And yeah, it has a strong story, and it's, what is it? They say third-person action game set in a dark, fantastical world. I'm like, all right, Compulsion. As long I didn't like how procedurally generated, was that the term, some of the We Happy Few shit was, and so it kind of turned me off. And I wasn't a big fan of the art style. Like the British policeman with the face paint, or he was, I don't know, just really white kind of thing. I didn't play it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested in this game. It kind of turned me off. But this one with, like, some of the stuff, I'm like, all right, it's possible when we see more that I still won't want to play it. But I'm at least interested to where I'm going to check it out, like, look at a trailer and pay attention.
Yeah, apparently they're a Montreal-based game studio.
Okay, Montreal. So still, Canadian.
Yep.
Basically British, Jaren. Am I right? Fucking high five, got him.
So, the next game that's also been leaked is Obsidian's Pentiment, which was recently revealed by Jeff Grubb on the Grub Snacks show. Obsidian's indie-style effort is emerging from a small team, well, it's gotta be, since they have, like, 5 fucking games in development, which is led by Josh Sawyer. He's famed for his leadership on what is arguably the best Fallout game, New Vegas. This is what Jez Corden writes. As well as a personal fave of Jez Corden's, Pillars of Eternity. So that's what this guy worked on before he broke off with a small team.
You guys gotta click on his article and look at the fucking image they used for Pentiment. It's just a white background with, like, the shittiest drawn man just standing there. It's fucking awesome. I'm sorry, you can't see it, but you gotta go over and look at this fucking image, man. It's a horrifying image. What is that, Jared? It looks like I could have drew that.
I don't know. I couldn't have drawn that, dude. I can't draw jack shit.
You could have drawn the white background.
I could have drawn the white background, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. That just made me laugh.
From what we've heard, according to this article, It says, I am told that Pentiment is being built by a small team of around 12 people and is more of a narrative RPG adventure than something combat oriented. Oh, they're going with the Rare, the thing for Rare tried to do.
Yeah, they tried.
Obsidian just looks around the games industry and says, what are you doing? I can do that better.
That's their literal MO is, yeah, they did. Just like, yo, that's a shitty way of doing what you wanted to do. Let's take that from you.
And somehow, Jeff Grubb also noted that Pentiment is indeed gunning for a 2022 launch. So who knows, maybe this is the game that we see at the Game Awards, because all of a sudden, Microsoft just has an extra game that they're going to drop.
Yeah, how long have they been these 12 people been working on this? You know, or they're like, "Oh, we're aiming for 2022." I'm like, "Where the fuck did this come from?" And then they say that Grubb mentioned that Pentiment takes cues from the likes of Disco Elysium and the branching narrative designs Josh Sawyer is known for. So those of you who don't know, Disco Elysium, made by literally a communist studio over there, but they have made a game that has like 10 out of 10s and is really well known for its story and things on PC. I think it just got ported to a bunch of places recently. But, you know, it's pretty, if they're taking cues from that's super interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the games I want to play, hop over and play Disco Elysium, especially if they ever add it to Game Pass. So yeah, this is a game that I'm definitely interested in, especially if it's going to come out in 2022 with kind of, I assume they'd put it out in like a less populated month for games.
So let's go over it. Okay. So Obsidian is working on Grounded updates. They just released the Hot and Hazy update. They're working on the Outer Worlds 2, kind of, you know, very small pre-development shit. They're working on, we think, they're working on Avowed. They're working on Pentiment. And isn't there another one that they're working on?
Well, this could have been the one. I think we had heard rumors of another game, but this could be that game, or it could be an entirely another one. Who knows?
It's one of the two. So, I mean, their output is astonishing, you know? Just astonishing amount of work going on over there to see. And what a great buy from Microsoft.
Yeah, they bought one studio, ended up with 6 games.
Yes. I mean, Insomniac and Obsidian were like some of the two biggest, you know, independent gets from these companies in the past few years, for sure.
Yeah, Insomniac's working on 2 Marvel games, and Obsidian just decides to work on a new game every week, and then somehow finishes it that year.
The thing about Obsidian, though, is like all their games are kind of different, you know? Like, they don't work on samey kind of titles. They have like all this weird shit going on.
Yeah, they're like their own publisher in one studio.
And I don't know if you mentioned this, but the word Pentiment comes from, quote, an underlying image in a painting, especially one that has become visible when the top layer of paint has turned transparent with age, end quote, according to the dictionary. And it says, this naming convention hints at the game's premise, by which you act as an investigator in 16th century Europe, uncovering the truth behind a grisly murder. So it seems like just an indie kind of murder mystery maybe walking sim? Like an indie type game with no combat, right? And it's just an engaging, branching story. I'm in, you know?
Yeah, this game sounds great. Obsidian has a great writing style, too.
Yeah, so, I mean, those are the 2 updates on some Xbox things that are in development here. You got Project Midnight, the Deep South-inspired third-person action story game from Compulsion, and then you got Obsidian's 18,000th title this month, Pentiment, which is going to be, 12-person indie-style, branching story, kind of, I guess it's going to be more walking sim. They say no combat, really.
They're going to announce and put it out at the Game Awards.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect to see at least one of these at the Game Awards. At least one, right? Maybe the Compulsion game.
I would expect the Obsidian one, because if the Compulsion game is only still in like the concept art phase.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe not. But
yeah, I don't know how far they are in that.
Who really knows? Because Xbox has like 50 games being worked on.
Jaren, we'll know, and people can show back up to this podcast to find out.
That's true. You guys can come through. We'll definitely talk about it. The next story, Phil Spencer says Xbox is looking to buy social and casual game developers. And this is posted by Tom Ivan over at VGC. And in an interview with Bloomberg, Phil Spencer says he wants Xbox first-party software lineup to include more casual content with a broader appeal. This is a quote from Phil. When I think about the kinds of genres that are usually associated with Xbox, yes, we have Roblox, we have Minecraft, we have FIFA and Fortnite, but we want to continue to invest in more social, casual content that's out there, and we have a lot of ambition.
The way I thought about this was Phil, wanting to go out and, I guess, looking for acquisitions for more casual content with broad appeal. And, for mainly he's talking about children, right? He was talking about like getting, more E-rated content, to use Peggy as an example, or to use, not Peggy, that's a fake company, to use ESRB as an example.
Peggy 18.
Peggy 18. But yeah, he wants to have more like Minecraft style children oriented games that have a broad appeal. And I'm like, I kind of disagree with him where he was like, we have these 8 things, but we're kind of weak in that department and we should, get another thing in there. And I'm like, Phil, I don't think you're weak in that department. I think Xbox is, besides Nintendo, which is Nintendo and has its own identity, is clearly the better place to go for more, E-style offerings.
Dude, he's comparing Xbox to, comparing Game Pass to Netflix. Game Pass wants to have a Game Pass Kids.
Yeah, it looks like that's what they're going for, and yeah, I don't care about that. Obviously, I don't have to play it, but I'm like, yo, Phil, I don't actually agree. Like, he says we need to expand in that space, and it's not that I'm like, okay, it's not that you don't need to expand in that space, because it's better, for Xbox. It's better if they have more in every space, like every rating, E, what is it, E12, E plus, what is it? I don't know. I don't even play those games. T for teen, M. It's like, okay, well, just at a philosophical level, it's better to have more in all those places. So I can't say you're wrong, where you're like, we need to have more E games. I'm like, well, yeah, you need to have more everything. But from being like, yo, we're specifically weak in the E-rated stuff, and that's hurting our market. It's like, well, unless you can come across a Roblox acquisition or some, kind of hit like that, I don't necessarily see the benefit, of focusing on that. Maybe I'm just stupid, though. I'm sure Phil knows more than I do. But I'm like, yeah, I don't really know, Phil. I don't really think... Seems like kids play M-rated games anyway, because Call of Duty sells more than anything every year.
Yeah, that's true, but like Minecraft, Fortnite, all those kind of things, Roblox, continue to be the most like watched things on Twitch and YouTube because they're popular, but also because their parents let them watch it. So if Microsoft had their own first-party, bigger E-rated game, that would obviously be a boon for them.
One of the reasons all those games are bigger is because they're multi-platform. And unless they're talking about something like Minecraft, which they acquire and let live on every platform. Like, not even just PC, Xbox. I'm saying PC, Xbox, like Windows, Xbox, and PlayStation, and Android, and iOS, and those things. Like, that's what makes those games big, or at least Roblox is on PC. But it's so accessible that's part of why it's so big. Like, if you had these things and you tried to silo them on Xbox, you may hurt what makes them popular. Unless you can start something from the ground up that's huge and just on Xbox, which is possible, I guess. But it seems like he's talking more about acquisitions, right?
Yeah, it seems like they want to just have more E-rated content that they're putting into their Game Pass library, whether it's on other studios or other consoles, or whether it's just in their portfolio that they don't really have any E-rated content. And I think that's a fair criticism in terms of like what they actually bring to Game Pass. They don't really make E-rated content. Even their like cartoony games have a more mature undertone.
Yeah, they have Minecraft and Minecraft Dungeons and perhaps a few others I'm not thinking of off the top of my head, but it feels like, yeah, I mean, I guess from their first party they could make more E-content, but I feel like they should just make more of every kind of content.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's just they're looking at like their overall output and what is coming out. Like, of the games that are coming out in the future that have been announced, I would say like 70% of the games that are coming out are T-rated or above.
It's like, yeah, but 70% of like the most popular games are kind of T-rated or above, right?
Well, I guess Minecraft and Tetris are the two most popular games, and they're not.
Talking about like in the NPD top 10 every month.
Yeah, I guess they're
not talking about
like
one-off hits that
overall
you can't predict
sales in terms of like.
I'm sure Phil knows what he's doing. I don't need to belabor this point for 30 minutes. I'm just like, yeah, get more e-games. Okay, Phil, cool. I like that you put the aggressive phrase "Phil is on the prowl" here, and the doc talking about him wanting to have more children games, oriented games. Good for you, Jaron.
And the next story, Todd Howard was talking a bunch with IGN, so I took out kind of the two ones that I thought were interesting. There was a lot of stuff about like some info on Starfield, but not really that much info on Starfield, talking about how they only could have made Starfield now, and they're sorry that like the other games are delayed and all that kind of stuff, but like whatever. That's all ancillary stuff. Obviously, we know that those games are coming out later. The ones that I want to talk about were Elder Scrolls boss Todd Howard clarifies his involvement in new Indiana Jones game. And I thought this was funny because he kind of downplays his involvement at the start, where they ask him like what his deal is, like what he is. And he told IGN that when he is an executive producer on any project, that means his role is more about checking in on the game as opposed to being directly involved on a daily basis. He might check on Indiana Jones or any other project where he's an executive producer once a week, once a month, depending on the state of its development. Then, this article's from Eddie McCuck at GameSpot.
Eddie McCuck, I'm a what, dude?
Then when you come down, Todd Howard also says, he said he is obsessed with the films, saying Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of the best movies ever. And as how the project came to be, he said he was trying to make an Indiana Jones game for more than a decade. About 10 or 12 years ago, he had a meeting with Lucasfilm about making the Indiana Jones game, and it almost happened. He talks about how he met people like Lucas back in the day and pitched the Indiana Jones game with them, and they were like, that's awesome, you should come pitch it. And then it almost got made, but it didn't work with how Bethesda's like bandwidth at the time. Then, when it was taken over by Disney, he went back and pitched the game again, who liked the concept, and since they're like letting people make their games, then Todd Howard brought the Indiana Jones game to Machine Games and asked them to make it, and they were excited about it. So he says he's not really that involved. He just checks it every once in a while. He's the executive producer.
Yeah.
The man came up with the idea for the game, tried to pitch it for the last 10 or 12 years, got it approved, then brought it to a studio and said, here's your next game.
I mean, I believe it. I think as an executive producer, from what I understand, what they do mostly is they're kind of timekeepers and task managers. Their role is making sure milestones and certain things are hit on time and that everything's on a schedule. And with Todd, I imagine his role is slightly a bit more involved than that, because he's, Todd Howard at Bethesda, although not to a super huge degree. So I imagine he's right. Like when the game's barely being developed, by a small team, he comes in, once a month and is like, what's up, guys? And then they give him like a rundown in a meeting room. And he's like, cool, everything seems on track, here we go. And then once the game starts picking up in development, he'll probably do more weekly or even make maybe 3 or 4 day check-ins and be like, yo, so guys, what's going on here? And they have to like pitch him and show him that they met these milestones. And Todd, being apparently the biggest goddamn Indiana Jones fan in the world, he'll be like, no, that's shit, fix that, don't do that. Or he'll talk about it with other people because he's not the guy directing the game. But he's Todd Howard at, Bethesda. So he can go talk to anybody and be like, here's a problem I have with this, or here's where we need to meet this certain point by this date and all this. So I imagine that's just what he's doing, and while he's working on his other games. I don't know why he's not directing the game or why they gave it to Machine Games, but I guess that makes sense given that Bethesda is working on Starfield and is only in the early stages of the Elder Scrolls 6, and they're talking about they have a page written for Fallout 5's kind of overall plot after that. And then I don't know when the fuck Starfield 2 and Elder Scrolls 7 coming out. Who knows? I don't know. So I don't know why Todd didn't take the game, but his executive producer role at least makes sense.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that he like downplays himself, which obviously that is what he's doing for work.
He's clearly too busy to be doing other things.
It's just funny to essentially, for the analogy, it's like starting a restaurant, writing a cookbook for everything that happens in the restaurant, and then giving the cookbook to the chef and then being like, yo, that guy's a really good chef, huh?
Yeah, there's no way that he doesn't have input on the story, right? There's no way. Based on his pitching to these places over decades, I don't believe that he doesn't have some strong input on the story of that game.
It sounds like he wrote almost the whole game, the whole pitch, had the whole idea, everything was laid out, and then he just gave it to Machine Games and was like, all right, you make this.
Yeah, he's like, I just want my vision to be made almost. But that's for the director, the creative director, so I don't even understand. I don't know enough to understand how that works, but
yeah, in terms of like film, the way that he described himself, he's essentially the like producer and the director before the thing happened, and then he just went, you know what? You guys take it. I'll take a back seat.
Yeah, which is super interesting. And are you excited for the Indiana Jones game, Jaron? Like, I know you were excited when it got announced, and what are your thoughts kind of months ahead? Do you think it's gonna still be do you think it might be multi-platform, or do you think it's gonna be a PC Xbox exclusive, or what's up?
I have a feeling it's probably just going to be a PC Xbox exclusive, the way that like Disney has now been like segmenting games on PlayStation. Like they gave them both the Marvel games. One of them wasn't even Spider-Man
for a bit. The Knights of the Old Republic remake for a limited time.
Yeah, the Knights of the Old Republic remake and all that. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's an exclusive on Xbox. I'm also more excited about it now because it doesn't seem like it's just like a random thing that they decided to do. It's like Todd Howard's been trying to make this game for like 12 years.
Yeah, he's pitched it to both two different owners of loot, like of the IP.
And both times they were like, "Yo, this is awesome. We should make this."
Yeah, so it seems like it's got a strong. That's the way you want a project that's happening now to have started.
Yeah,
in terms
so
of maybe
I'm
not
all
it
for
takes
it.
so long, but that there was so much passion behind it beforehand.
And the other thing that they talked about, Caleb briefly mentioned, and it's just that Bethesda has confirmed Fallout 5 plans, but says that it's behind Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, and they kind of just have like a one-sheeter for it, which in like a film and video game industry is they wrote a one-page about the main outlines of the story, how it goes, where it's going, features they want to have, and they probably just have that approved and have given it off to somebody.
It's literally an outline. If any of you have written an outline for school, they wrote an outline of Fallout 5. It may even be less of an outline than that.
And it's funny because they always call them one-pagers, but rarely are they one page.
Yeah, they're usually longer. That's why I say an outline. Like, it can go for a bit, but we obviously don't have specifics as to how long that outline is.
Yeah, of course not. He called it a one-pager, so we're going to assume it's a one-pager as of now, without further clarification.
Exactly.
The last story that we're going to talk about before Game Pass
Wait,
news...
Jaren, time out. Are you excited for Fallout 5?
When it gets there, I'll get excited.
You're going to be dead before it gets there, man. Your children's going to be graduating high school, and you're going to be like, oh, Fallout 5 comes out today.
Maybe they'll speed up now they got more money. Who knows?
Yo, no, they won't. Shut up. Anyway, go ahead, Jaren.
The next up story, Xbox's 20th anniversary celebration is here, and this is how you're going to watch it and what to expect, and this is by Adam Bankhurst at IGN, and this is happening on the day that this podcast comes out, and it's at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then 6 p.m. GMT, whatever that means.
And you got to agree in which mean time, Jaren. You're going to have to listen to this on Monday, guys, because if you're listening to this late, you missed it. And if you'd listened when this episode went live, you would have had the drop on the 20th anniversary celebrations. So that's why you gotta hop in on Mondays, boys, you know? You gotta be in here.
Yeah, and we're going to set your expectations, because Xbox has already talked about this many times. There won't be any new game announcements, but that doesn't mean that we won't see Halo Infinite, Hellblade 2, Fable, or any of the other games currently in development at Xbox Studios. And The Rock has hinted that there will be something big rock-related there, so I have no idea what that means.
That's the most important news. Maybe he's in the next Gears game, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on there. But yeah, it's going to be a smaller kind of thing, clearly. And, you know, IGN is like hyping you up. Like, it's probably wise to keep expectations in check, but never say never. It's like, yo, the stream's exclusive to IGN. So clearly, if the stream is exclusive to IGN, it's not going to be... Or are they just hosting it?
I think they're just hosting it.
Okay, I was under the impression that maybe IGN is just trying to advertise to me. I was like, if they're hosting it, because I assumed they were, because they're hosting everything. Friggin' right nowadays, you know, the IGN first and all that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so maybe there will be something there, but even then, I doubt it. It seems literally like a celebration. Maybe they'll talk about 1 versus 100, Jaren. Did you see that there's like, they're working on that? There are reports.
Oh yeah, it's in the FAF, but now we don't have to talk about it, so you're good.
Hell yeah, dude, I nailed it. Dude, that's the game we play every week, and I sometimes win.
The only thing I'll say about it is that some people, like Jez Corden and I believe, and I think it was Tom Warren, said that this was something you should watch. So
okay.
I don't know what that means, because there's not going to be any new game announcements, but maybe we're going to get to see things from games that are already announced that we hadn't previously seen. Like maybe there will be some Fable stuff.
Yo, here's my guess, Jaren. You ready? Xbox 20th anniversary stream. 20 million Xbox Series X is live for pre-order now.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's my big thing, man. 20 million Series X is made and ready to go.
All right. And the last thing in the X block, The Gunk hits Xbox Game Pass this December, and you can watch the trailer. It's been announced that it is coming to Game Pass on the 16th of December.
That's smart. These guys are smart. Getting in December before, you know, the February shit hits, and right after Halo, when there's kind of, if you're, you know, it's there. It's a new game that's at that time.
It actually looks kind of fun. Like I'm interested in it, but I'll still probably be playing Halo.
Oh, it's definitely interesting. It's about apparently it's about, you know, a person who goes to an alien world to try to get some life, plant life, and other things to sell for profit, like, I don't know, make money off of it, and then they encounter this parasite gunk shit, and then they have to save the planet and clear the gunk.
Yeah, that's great. I'm on board. You sold me, Caleb. I didn't know anything about it, but now I'm sold.
Yeah, see, you gotta save the planet from the curse of a corruptive gunk parasite while desperately keeping from getting caught in a spiral of festering mistrust. Ooh.
Wow. That's a good write-up.
Yeah, that's just the end, but yeah, I mean, that's just the last part of it. But so if you're excited for the gunk, and the trailers all looked cool, and you want a smaller Series X title to check out on Game Pass, or not Series X, but I would say, play it on your Series X, at this December, after you maybe get one early for Christmas, maybe you got one for Black Friday, go check out the gunk.
Dude, hopefully who wrote this breakdown for them also wrote the game. Festering Mistrust? I'm on board.
Yeah, dude, I want to learn about some festering mistrust.
Next up, we have the FAF. Now, the FAF is the news that you don't need to know, but the news that it's fun to find out. And if you're scrolling through your Twitter feed and you're seeing these things pop up, what's Call of Duty doing? You can ignore that because that's not even in the FAF anymore. Then you can be like, I don't want to click on these things. I don't want to give IGN ad revenue because they broke up one story into 9 different parts. Well, you can come to us and we'll tell you the least important stuff that you might want to know about.
Sometimes I want to know about it, and then I feel stupid.
All right, Caleb, hit me with the first one.
Microfaf.
Halo hits 81 million copies sold ahead of Halo Infinite's release.
Yeah, especially the IP, clearly. The headlines made it sound weird. They were like, Halo hits this. And I'm like, which one? But it's the Halo franchise.
Yeah, dude, it's the Halo franchise, which that's pretty good, dude. 81 million.
Yeah, I mean, as it turns out, people like Halo. Who'd have known?
And one thing I saw just in terms of the comparison of Forza Horizon 5 to Halo and people wondering which one's going to be bigger, Forza Horizon 5 has the second most concurrent users of any game on Steam ever for Xbox. Halo, the Master Chief Collection, has twice that at number 1.
It was very popular on Steam.
If you're thinking about how big Halo Infinite is going to be, you can just look at those numbers.
It is super smart that they're putting that on Steam and on PC at launch. That is a very good move.
Xbox Series X and S appears to have already surpassed Xbox One's lifetime sales in Japan, Caleb.
All right. So that's insane.
Yep. So it only took 1 year, and now they have blown past the Japan sales, and there's more on the horizon. So maybe Xbox's investment in Japanese content is actually paying off.
It seems that way, at least, they're making, even if it doesn't, blow up, which it won't right now, they're making moves, they're building a foundation in which they can build upon, and they're partnering with Sega and other things, but, man, this, what was I gonna say, oh yeah, the Series X, man, they're like, it's small, it's kind of heavy, but it's small, you got the Xbox One, Jaren, you can't fit a Kinect in a Japanese apartment, that's not going in there, When the Xbox One launched, there was no way. That thing was the size of a fucking dresser.
Yeah, dude, it was a big-ass fucking block.
It was huge with the Kinect.
All right, Caleb, hit me with the next one.
Who's the bigger nerd? Question. I feel like I know the answer to that one. Is it me?
No. I'm going to read you 3 articles, and you're going to tell me who's the bigger nerd.
Oh, this is a fun game. All right.
Deleting my ex's Animal Crossing saved data. This guy talks about how it's been 5 years, it's been a year and 5 months since he last booted up Animal Crossing because he had a breakup with his ex and they used to play Animal Crossing together. And he said, but while I've since moved on in real life, Animal Crossing remains the last vestige of our relationship. With Animal Crossing's newest DLC and free content, I was eager to get back in, but I also saw it as an opportunity to allow myself to move on virtually and reach new horizons, both in-game and in real life. And he said before he began the deletion process of his ex's thing in Animal Crossing,
not to laugh.
He made one last trip inside their abandoned home. Apparently, his ex had the forethought to remove their favorite items from the island.
No! Oh, no! No!
And all that was left was a single room in the house with 2 seahorses, a spindle, and a single cockroach scuttering about.
Oh, this guy's not a nerd, man. That story hit deep, man. I'm about to cry.
The next story.
Oh, no.
Pokemon creators have thicker skin than many due to angry fans. So this is all the fucking angry ass dumb fucking 30-year-old Pokemon fans coming out here shitting on the developers. They need to have a thicker skin because you losers are worried about whether Pokemon's good or not. You bunch of fucking lame bastards.
I feel like you have an opinion before the third story.
The next story. Scalpers are selling Elden Ring's closed network test codes for hundreds of dollars, and it's been confirmed that some people have actually spent up to $3.99 American on these codes.
You have two options here, Jaren. Here's the thing. The last story there, you got nerds making money, but the nerds spending the money may be the bigger nerds, okay? Then you have the Animal Crossing man who actually had a relationship with the female.
Or a male. We don't know. It doesn't say.
Or a male. That's a good point. That's a good point, Jaren. We don't judge. Had a relationship, whatever. He's out there hustling. And that he played games with his partner. And that person was smart enough to monetize their experience. They noticed what happened there with their relationship and their Animal Crossing home, and they actually told a somewhat cogent, kind of heartfelt story and monetized it, published it about their relationship and the Animal Crossing shit. So that's just good moves. I mean, he's a dork, but it's good moves. The Pokemon people can just eat a dick. Pokemon people are the fucking real nerds out here.
I'm glad. That segment was fun, Caleb. Who do you think, what article you think published the deleting my ex's Animal Crossing save data?
Man, Kotaku.
Oh yeah, of course. You knew it.
Yeah,
you knew it right away.
That was a good only they would think that to monetize a story like that. But I'll say, kind of a good idea. Like, I don't like Kotaku. I do not like Kotaku at all. I don't like a lot of the people at that outlet, anything like that. I don't know them personally, but I know of them. That's a pretty good kind of angle for just a dumb story.
It's true. All right, Caleb.
That's just smart.
We're going to move on to quick quips. The Pokemon Company marks 25th anniversary with a $25,000 Crystal Pikachu.
Pika-Pee!
Dude, do you think all those fucking whiny-ass bitch nerds who complain to the Pokemon developers that, like, Charizard's dick isn't big enough, you think they're going to buy, like, this $25,000 Crystal Pikachu statue?
Is there only one statue?
There's 25 of them.
Oh, there should be they should have a Pokemon battle to see who gets which.
Yo, dude, that would be the most sad room. Just a bunch of like overweight 50-year-old people with receding hairlines fighting over a crystal Pokemon statue.
Jaren, Pika-Pee, man, come on. Is it the fat Pikachu or the thin Pikachu?
He looks middle. They've evened him out.
No, I like you got to go with that Indigo region, or Indigo League rather, Pikachu. You know, that Kanto. That OG. I guess I'm one of the Pokemon nerds here.
And the last story, in Quick Quips, Amazon is offering a 3 for the price of 2 on major new game releases in the US. So if you want to go over there and buy 2 games, you'll get a third for free. Just shouting that out there to anybody who actually still spends money on video games.
Just get Game Pass. That's my quick quip.
And that is all for the X Block Podcast, episode 33. If you would like to listen to us somewhere that you're not listening to us right now, you can head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, anything Anchor supports. If you're one of those people that likes to listen on YouTube, you can head over to the X Block Podcast on YouTube. If you would like to follow us outside of the show, you can head over to Twitter at X Block Podcast. You can head over to Instagram at X Block Podcast. You can find us on Twitch and Patreon, which Caleb will tell you about now.
Dude, Twitch is _X Block. Jaren, have you streamed yet? Or are you not streamed yet?
I have not streamed yet. I've been doing work like you.
Okay, well, it's happening soon. We somewhat promised. Jaren's gonna stream. He said he would.
I said it in an unreleased episode.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess. Well, then, Jaren, go follow the _X Block at your peril and get notifications when we go live, which Jaren said he would do, and he might not. So who knows? And then if you want to go over to patreon.com/xblockpodcast and throw us a few dollars, you can help me buy a new microphone that I'm looking at getting, which would improve our quality. You can give Jaren enough money to where he can fix his microphone, apparently. Get him a big, super good new microphone. And also, if you want to hear all the 19 flubs Jaren had this episode that he cut out, or perhaps hear our unreleased, lost episode that we still have the audio for, but has too many peaks that it's not worth listening to, go over to patreon.com/xblockpodcast, throw us some dollars, and maybe we'll add some tiers in there for some flubs and some unreleased episodes. Who knows? Patreon.com/xblockpodcast.
Yep. And tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your dog, tell your grandma, tell everybody that you know to listen to the X Block Podcast. And yeah, that's about it. All I've heard is that Fortnite is adding fishing and Caleb's going to play it. X Block out.
Thanks for listening to the X Block. New episodes every Monday at 5 a.m.